So, I'm going to give you my top 6 PlayStation 2 games that everyone needs in their collection. Okay, so welcome back to the channel. My name's John, and today I'm going to be talking about the PlayStation 2. And, you know, such an iconic console, probably one of my favourite consoles actually. I've got one of the fat models, and you know, I really love the design. Like I say, I think it's such an iconic design, and some absolutely amazing games were released on this. I don't know the total number, but I know it's in thousands somewhere. But so anyway, so I'm going to go over. I've picked out some from my very modest collection. A couple of shelves up there, and there's another one up there. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to be going through 6 of my favourite games. These are my personal favourite games. I'm not, you know, swayed by other reviews or anything like that. These are just ones that are personal to me. But I also think that, you know, these are must-haves in anyone's collection, really. Okay, so let's go. So the first one, these are in no particular order whatsoever. So the first one, I mean, how can anyone not have Grand Theft Auto Vice City in their collection? So this for me was probably is my favourite Grand Theft Auto of all time, because it's got a lot of memories for me. I mean, me and my good wife, obviously we weren't married back then when we were playing this, but we used to play this together, and we finished like the whole campaign, and you know, I mean, I can't take credit for the final sort of boss shootout. She always reminds me of that was her. She finished it, but no, we used to play it together. It's a brilliant game, and the soundtrack. I mean, I don't think, is there a better soundtrack? I don't know. I don't think there is. Actual fact, there's another game that I'm bringing up later, which is we've got a very good soundtrack, but this one for me, if you like sort of 80s stuff, absolutely amazing soundtrack. I know that the CD collection of the music from that game still goes for good money on eBay, so it's worth looking out for if you ever see it. So anyway, yeah, so that's number 1, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. You have to get it. Also, if you can, get it with the little map. I've actually got a couple of copies with this. This one here hasn't got the map, but I've got the twin pack up there, which does have the map in it. So moving on then, so the next game, completely different genre altogether, but for me this was, I think, the better of the 2 football games during the time, and that is Pro Evolution Soccer. This is the first one, you know, this is the series basically I'm talking about, but Pro Evolution Soccer for me, obviously there were better titles later on that came out, but for this one it started it all off, and this is a very good sort of post-pub game. We always used to come home from the pub, me and a few of the other lads, and you know, we'd get a few drinks and we'd end up playing Pro Evo for several more hours. But yeah, so a lot of good memories, and I preferred it to FIFA. I know it did change again. They sort of flipped and flopped, didn't they? But I think it during them times, I preferred it. And yes, that's another one. I mean, you can pick this up dirt cheap. These are like, you know, £1, 50p's. So if you haven't got it, which you should have, go out and get that. So that's number 2. The third one, for me, this is an absolute masterpiece. An absolute masterpiece. A PlayStation 2 classic. Not cheap. Okay, you can't. It's not exactly a really cheap game. But they remastered it recently they remastered it on the PS4, but I still think you need it on the PS2, and that is Shadow of the Colossus. This, for me, just blew my mind. I mean, I remember the first time playing this, and this was, actually, it was a good friend of mine that got me onto this. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but I remember thinking like the bosses on this, because they were like absolutely huge. It's an amazing story, the graphics were amazing, the sound was amazing, and yeah, you kind of go on this journey. I mean, you know about it, but you absolutely must get it, because it was for me it was kind of like the first game I'd seen where you had like these sort of giant kind of like bosses to defeat, and they were like ridiculous. I mean, you had to sort of climb up on them and everything like that. Absolutely amazing game. Definitely go and get it. It's not the cheapest, I know that. I can't remember what I paid. I haven't even got I've got the sort of sleeved copy, which, you know, I don't have the cased version. I think the cased version goes for a bit more than this one. But I think I paid something like £10-15. Probably going to go up in value, but there you go. Shadow of the Colossus, definitely get hold of that if you see it. Third one, which was, for me, another personal of mine, really. Because of, I remember back in the day, like the Mega Drive, and I used to play a lot of, and even actually on the Master System, I think, I used to play Outrun a lot. So I got Outrun 2006 on the PS2, and this is brilliant. There's loads of different versions of the game within it, but thankfully you can still play the classic version with all like the original music and stuff like that. It's really good. It's obviously for like the, you know, the drift heads and people that like playing it like that. So yeah, Outrun 2006, not cheap, not the cheapest game. Something like £10, £12, something like that. But well worth getting. An absolutely brilliant driving game. Still plays really well today, even with everything else out there on the next gen consoles. That still plays really well. So Outrun 2006, coast to coast. Go out and get it. Really good driving game. The arcade style, okay? So it's not your, you know, your Gran Turismo style. The arcade style. Go out and get it. It's absolutely brilliant. You won't regret it. What are we on now? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fifth one. Loads and loads of versions of this game. Obviously, this is a massive franchise, massive series. But I quite like this version, and I thought that the PS2 done it really well. And I know there is some people here that are going to moan that this isn't the original one. Absolutely get that. I do have the original version as well. I've also got it on older consoles. But I thought Street Fighter EX3 on the PS2 was a good game. Good fighting game. Kind of, you know, there was a whole load of decent fighters on the PS2. Soul Calibur, Virtua Fighter, Tekken, obviously. But I really like the Street Fighter. So Street Fighter EX3 gets my nod. Really good fighting game. Fairly cheap. I think you can pick this up reasonable. I mean, don't quote me on it, but not too bad. Certainly under a tenner. So it's well worth looking out for. Got all the classics in there. You can do like tag options and things like that as well. So good version on the PS2, holds up really well, graphics look amazing. Street Fighter EX3, head out and get it. And then the last one, again no particular order, but this one, huge memories again. This goes back to, again, this was another one that me and my wife used to play a lot, and we really did play this a hell of a lot. We got super competitive with each other on this, and this unlocked a whole world of follow-up games, and you know, a horrendous amount of hours we dedicated to this. And that is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. So, I mean, what can we say about this? These are brilliant. I mean, going back to the PS1, I've got all the original ones on the PS1. And since then we did buy the remakes of 1 and 2 on the Xbox One, and then we played it all through again. But we used to compete heavily on this. I mean, we'd complete the whole game, but that wouldn't be enough. Then we'd end up going into like high scores per level, and so like I'd set a score. I used to work shifts, so I'd set a score sometimes late at night, and I'd come in and I'd beat the high score, and then I'd it's all about combos. Once we discovered that, the manual and the, like the shove it and then linking up tricks and just going on for ages, ridiculous combos and ridiculous scores. And I'd set a score late at night, and then I'd get up in the morning, and then I'd turn it on and I'd find out that she'd beaten it, and that's what it becomes. this little competition all the time, just notching each other off the table, off the top of the leaderboard. So brilliant games, amazing soundtracks as well, absolutely amazing soundtracks. So I mean, what are you doing if you haven't got Tony Hawk's on your PlayStation 2? If you haven't got Tony Hawk's on your PlayStation, go out and get it right now. They're not expensive, they're super cheap games, and they are absolutely brilliant. Really looking forward to the, hopefully they've done the remake of 1 and 2, I'm really hoping they do the remake of 3 and 4, because I'll definitely be, you know, first in queue to go and get that. So there you go, so that's my six must-have games for the PlayStation 2. I hope you like those. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of that. That would be great. And thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.